Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. This is Sherry Kalergis live from Vancouver with At 45, the magazine for women over 45, for those of us who are rediscovering who we are and exploring what we want next in life. And don't we want more of everything? Love, laughter, fun, and fulfillment. These are trying times, and our quarantine conversations are an opportunity to break out of your four walls, find some mental stimulation, laugh a little bit, and share experiences. Sorry, I'm just watching all the people coming into the room. So today we're so excited to have Georgia Varjas with us. I hope I pronounced that right, Georgia. I forgot to check before we were talking. She is a coach, a multi-book author, a blogger, and a speaker, coming to us today from Spain. So she believes every woman can be confident, courageous, and creative at any age. And we so believe that to be true. So welcome, Georgia.
Thank you so much, Sherry. I'm still fascinated by the fact that, here I am in Europe and you are in Canada, and there's this 9 hours between us, and yet we can communicate with each other. It's just so fabulous, isn't it?
Technology is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. We've had opportunities on this show to talk to people, all our women all around the world. We had someone from Australia, South Africa. So it's just amazing how technology is an opportunity to bring us all together, and especially at these trying times.
Very important that we are able to communicate as well.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what's happening in Spain.
Well, we've been in very strict lockdown, and we are now in week 5. So that means there's no walking, there's no jogging, there's no jumping, there's no leaping, there's no dancing on the streets.
Yes.
It's all out. None of that. You are allowed to go to the shops, and you wear gloves and you wear a mask. They give you gloves. If you haven't got them, they make you wear a mask to cover your face. You have to keep your distance. And so it's very strict. But this week, Monday, yesterday, they have now allowed back what they call the essential workers, which are like the construction workers, the cleaners, the people that tidy up the beaches, because, Spain is a big tourist industry here. And they've just missed out on, the Easter business. So, no restaurants, no bars, no walking in the street. But if you're a construction worker, you go back to work.
Well, it's very trying here, in North America, and I'm on the West Coast. And so we're still pretty well in lockdown mode also. So, and the states, most of the states is in that situation too. So yeah, it's a real trying time, and I think it's a perfect time for your message, because a lot of us have time to actually reflect on what we're doing in our life and how we're performing. And I was curious though, what's your background like? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my background is in show business. I was a saxophone player for many, many years of my life, and I've done playwriting. I've put on plays in the London Fringe Theatre, and I always made my money back, which is a great achievement in Fringe. I did performance poetry. I did it with music and without music. I even came to the East Coast of the US and performed in American slam competitions, which were very, very revealing, because it was a different style, and I got this very clean English accent, so it was a kind of mixed reaction. But I loved it, anything to do with being on stage or video, and I was in my realm. So coming out to Spain here, where I've been living for quite some time now, which is a wonderful, it's a wonderful way of life. You know, the light, the Mediterranean, and it's got that European lifestyle, which I so enjoy. But it's where I am is a little bit small town. So that's taken me a while to get, I don't think I'll ever get used to it, to be honest. I don't think I ever will, you know. So, but it's about weighing up your priorities in life. And I just love the outdoor life, and I love the gregariousness, the social life, you know, the cafe society, if you like. But to run a business here, you know, it's, Sherry, it's very much that Spanish people would rather go to their grandmother for advice than hire a coach. It's changing, but it's still that kind of thinking, you know, why am I going to a stranger? I go to my grandmother, you know. But it's changing, but still, yeah. So I said to myself, right, I'm going to go back to UK because I know the British now. I kind of know how they think about things. And so I did. Of course, I write in English very, very easily, and I speak like the Queen. My mother always told me, lose your accent, speak like the English. And so it helps, you know. It helps, yeah. So that's kind of a, in a nutshell. You know, I'm really into video, stage, and page. I think the voice and the pen are the two most important things for a woman to have.
Absolutely.
Voice and pen. These are her weapons of construction.
That is absolutely true. I so agree with that. So how did you come upon your message that, you know, women should be confident, courageous, and creative?
Because I think, well, especially in the showbiz world, you know, I was, as I said, in the music business a lot, and it was always, you know, you had to be twice as good to be seen as half as good. When I would go for auditions, the first thing they would say to me is, how long have you been playing? Can you wear this? You know, it's like, it was such an insult. And I know they didn't ask the men that, how long have you been playing, before you even played. So it was that whole, you had to really have your elbows out. You had to be confident. You had to use the word bluff your way in. You had to kind of show a bit of cheek. You had to be courageous. You had to be bold. Otherwise you wouldn't get in. And I'm not saying that I was like that all the time, but I learned that if you wanted to get somewhere, you really had to step up and stand out and be confident and courageous and a little bit creative, which fortunately for women is not too difficult.
Well, I think it's the age that we are in, right? That women, you know, although it's got better, we're still having to step up and stand out, because it's still that there's that male domination. Everything like runs to the male persuasion, and it is a daunting task at times, personally, for women to have that courage when we haven't always seen it demonstrated for us.
I think that's true, and I think what makes it so difficult is we often self-sabotage because we haven't had the rights, we haven't had the opportunities. We've been played, you know, we play small, and we've been pushed into the corner. We've been told to shut up and dress like this and look like that, otherwise you're a failure, you're no good. And so how do you fight against that system? You know, a lot of women have lost their lives and their sanity fighting against the system. It is tough, it is tough. But I think now there is a huge turning point. There's a huge change coming, change of energy, a change of outlook. We are seeing more of what we considered alternative thinking coming out into broader minds. You know, you see it, I saw it in the paper today in one of the British newspapers online, and it said that, you know, the coronavirus is being mishandled by macho men leaders, macho male leaders. And then there was a picture of 8 women leaders from New Zealand to Germany showing the different way that you could handle the situation.
And
Right?
that is so true.
Slow, and it's happening, and women are speaking out about, like we are. You know, we are speaking out about, we are raising our confidence and our courage. We're being creative. We're finding new ways to put these ideas across, to say, hang on a minute, there is another way. I've got an alternative, and I'm ready to lean in, put my hand up, step up and stand up. So move over. You know, assertive, strong, calm, and if not, we try a little more. You have to have humor. I think this is the most important thing, because we know what it's like banging your head against the brick wall. I mean, we've lived with men. We've been around men long enough, haven't we, ladies? We know what they're like.
Well, you were mentioning, like we were chatting about it earlier, and the very fact that most of the people on the front lines of this are females.
Yeah. And why is that? It's because they're low paid jobs, they're unrecognized jobs. It's this whole idea that women's work is cooking, cleaning, and caring. And if you don't fit into that, you're not a proper woman. You've got to cook, clean, and care. And many women have got it into their head that they need to do it, should do it, must do it, could do it. Of course, many of us have a cleaner, many of us have somebody else who cares for us. But generally speaking, that is the mindset. We should be cooking, cleaning, and caring.
It's hard.
What is there? Is there anything in a man's brain that says they can't clean? No. Is there anything in a man's brain that says they can't care? No. So where do we get all this nonsense from? We need to speak up about this.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways it's embedded, right, in our DNA, unfortunately, from, thousands of years. But what do you have a suggestion for how women can push against that? Like, we have to do a little bit of internal work to be able to stand up and to push against those barriers that are put up for us. Do you have a suggestion?
Yes, I think first of all, we need to become aware of what our obstacles are. What's really stopping us? What are the hurdles? Are we playing too small? What are we scared of? Is it something real or not? Is it something we just imagine? Is it part of that brainwashing? You know, what I call, we get on this conveyor belt. We go to school, they open our heads, they pour in all this shit. Sorry, but that's what it is. Who's interested in what happened in the Battle of 1066? None of us. How can we use this in life? Nothing. We need to teach our children, the girls and the boys, life skills, survival skills, cooking, caring, and cleaning. These are life skills that we're going to be needing and using all our lives. So, for example, my beautiful niece, she's just pregnant now, and she says, my boyfriend's lovely. They're not married. My boyfriend's wonderful. He cooks for me. So I'm looking at my partner, I say, you hear this? This is what the younger generation are doing. And it's not about helping, it's about team. We have to teach this idea of team. Some things, they may be better at. I'm sure you all remember that at school, when we were at school, the girls did cooking classes. We had what was it called? Domestic science. What a fancy name. Domestic science. And the boys did carpentry. Now, why don't they bring these topics? Why don't they bring these fantastic subjects back in school? But they offer them to anybody in the class. So I can go into the carpentry class and learn how to fix a bulb, change a plug, cable up my computer, understand and feel confident with physical things, making and fixing. And boys can learn to prepare and cook and whisk.
It really is true. If your toolkit of life skills is full and competent, then you can focus in on doing the other things that expand your person, expand your mind, um, become much more useful to society. And I really, I think one of the things that's a barrier is women have a lot of guilt. You know, I have 3 kids, and I remember a few years ago, I said up, I'm not cooking anymore. I don't cook every day. I cook once a week. And I struggled with so much guilt. And they would say to me, but it's a mom's job. So how do we get past feeling guilty about denying other people so that we can have something ourselves?
Well, it's once again, it's teaching them how to cook. It's showing them how wonderful it is to cook. The satisfaction that you get from cooking, not for 30 years, but you know, you do it on Monday, you do it on Tuesday, you do it on Wednesday. I think it's that, you know, we've got to find a funny way, especially with men, find a funny way to do it with them. We have to be, you know, we are the mothers of invention. Come on. We have to be, you know, creative. But if you've got boy children, you know, we need to stop presuming that they're incapable of doing housework.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Realize that they are extra. Look at all the top chefs of the world. They're all angry men. They're all making a huge career with cooking, and we're supposed to do it for nothing.
Yeah, it seems an anomaly.
Where's the logic in that? I think awareness of this illogical male logic is so important for us to talk about openly, find the humor in it, let our boys from all age groups, because they're all boys, aren't they? Let them all understand clearly that there's nothing in your brain that stops you from cooking, cleaning, and caring. Nothing. You're capable of doing it. And the wonderful satisfaction. So many men want to be good daddies. So many. Not just the younger generation, but more so now. So many men want to be good daddies. They want to co-parent. They want to be involved. They don't want to be spending their time saying, you've got to follow my career, you don't cry, you know, be a man, you know, don't wear lipstick or whatever, you know. They've got to, it's hard because they're losing power and we're gaining.
Yes. And that sort of ties in with what you were saying about playing small, because we are learning, you know, gaining power as females in the world. We need to again step out and quit playing small.
Yes. I think, you know, one of the big difficulties is that women are told not to show off or brag. I think you Americans like to call it brag, or North Americans. You know, that it's bragging if you say, well, actually, I'm good at this. I'm very good at something. You know, I was a great saxophone player. I was very good at this. I'm a good writer. You know, excuse me? Women don't show off. Women don't brag and boast. Physically, you know, we are supposed to do that. We're supposed to show off physically. But that creates a lack of trust between women. And that's one of the most subversive things that I think we've been brainwashed into believing, is that we shouldn't trust women. That's just like the most subversive, evil thing, to turn against each other. And that's how we've been educated for centuries and centuries and centuries.
That is just, it's so true, because, you know, I've found out as I've worked through with the magazine, you know, so many women who are suspicious of putting themselves out there because of judgment, and not from men or the business community per se, but judgment from other women. And I mean, the magazine really is intent on helping women feel empowered to share who they are and what they do and how they do it. It's really important, and it is a shame because the friendship of women, I don't think you can find a more powerful force.
Absolutely, Sherry. That's spot on, because you know we are told that men will protect us, but I'm sort of thinking, which men? We were told that, you know, in a marriage, a man will look after you till you die or something like that. Rape in marriage is still legal in many countries of the world, and it's still hard to prove in the countries where they say it's illegal. So where's the protection? Why is it that we find it so difficult to turn to other women? Because we're going to judge each other, and we've been told to do that. Oh, you shouldn't wear that for that age, and you know, why have you made your hair like that, and that doesn't suit you because you're this size and that shape. Oh, we need to back off with that assuming and presuming. We are different. We're all gorgeous underneath.
Well, and just gorgeous the way we are.
The way we are. And you know what I say as well? One of my nieces was saying this to me the other day. I don't, you know, people don't like me because I'm too thin. I said to her, darling, just look at all the prams being pushed around. All women of different shapes and sizes. You think it's going to be that hard to get a baby if you want one?
No.
We can all be loved, and we have to love ourselves first. And then we exude that, I think, you know, when we love ourselves.
And why do you think it's so hard for us to love ourselves? I mean, I know it's a pandemic almost for women.
Yeah, because we're, you know, we play small. We don't have enough female leaders. We don't have enough role models to turn to look up to. You know, if you just look at the movies, it's all road, you know, they're all road movies about what men do together. So, you know, there's nothing there for us to look forward to. Now, of course, there are more. We see there's more women that we can, you know, I'm thinking of Michelle Obama, first one that comes to my mind. There's plenty of them, but we need more. We need to see those heroines that we can, you know, oh, look at that woman, she's a neurosurgeon. Look at that woman, she's a pilot. Look who's the leader of this place, and that, so that we can aspire to it. We can think, wow, she can do it, so can I. But, you know, confidence is one of the big problems. There was in one of the books I researched for my own book with Christine Lagarde, the woman who headed the International Monetary Fund. Wonderful, tall woman. She said, the night before I give a speech, I start to overthink. I start to worry, is it good enough? Is it going to be perfect? Is it going to be right? Who will judge me? Who will say this? Who will question me? Will I get it right? So even a woman in a powerful position like that questions her ability. It's tough. It's tough. So we have to, you know, what we used to say in showbiz, I'm sure you all know it, the show goes on regardless. And it's not about perfection, it's about being professional. You know, to be as professional as you possibly can in the situation that you have. Look, my hair's not perfect, but, you know, I feel good.
But that's such an important point, because a lot of women, especially, you know, now as women are moving their businesses online, or a lot of them are. And even if you don't have a business, we don't give ourselves permission to just start something and let it mature, you know, let it grow. Let us ourselves become more perfect at the process. It's like, it's got to be perfect, or no, I don't want to put it out there. And that goes back to the whole thing about what you said about judging, you know. Sometimes we're our worst critic, and we really do need to let that go.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a process. You know, you have to learn about yourself and accept things about yourself. You know, I've got good hair, but I haven't got good feet. So my life goes on. You know, it's those kind of things. I have to accept it. I live with it. It's not going to stop me from doing something. Okay, there's a kind of light example, but that's how we have to look at it. We can't have, there's very few people who have everything, few women who have everything. We may look at Beyonce and think, oh, she's got everything. She's got a hard life. She's got a tough life, constantly being perfect like this. She works very hard on that. In that top level of show business, you've got tremendous pressure to keep that going.
Absolutely.
It was only recently that Taylor Swift, whom I didn't know really much about, did a documentary about her life. It was phenomenal. What she struggled as a young artist, a 17-year-old girl, and how the music industry just tried to twist her and turn her into what they wanted. And then she finally stood up for herself. What criticism she got online, social media for those youngsters. The criticism that she got online was overwhelming. Death threats, and from women as well as men. Hey.
And
we have to spread the love and not the hate. And if one woman is more beautiful in our opinion, that's just our opinion. Don't punish her for it.
Absolutely. And that sort of brings us to the second part of what you share, and that's courage, to be courageous. For women to step out and step up, it does take courage.
Yes, it does. And I think one of the key things to that is not taking our mistakes so seriously. So, we're going to make mistakes. Sherry, I left home when I was very young. I was 15 years old when I left home. It wasn't even legal. It didn't matter to me, but, just as a fact. And I made many, many mistakes, but I didn't beat myself up about it, because if I repeated those mistakes, life beated me up. And I had soon learned that I had to stop making those stupid mistakes. So you make a mistake and learn from it and move on. If you don't learn from it, it's going to come and hit you again.
Yes. So giving ourselves permission to make mistakes sort of helps grow that courage so that we can step up.
Yeah, it's a healthy attitude, Oh, so I made, I sent out a newsletter the other day and I made a couple of typos. Now, I could have gone into a thing about it, I just said, well, that's life. I made a couple of typos. If it was going to a newspaper, they would have checked it. If it had gone to you, for example, you probably would have said, this girl doesn't know how to write that word. I better check it. So there are, you might come back and say to me, can you be a bit more careful next time? You made a couple of typos. I have a choice. Learn from that mistake. Or next time you're going to say, I don't want this woman anymore. She's always making typos.
But it's important too that you don't beat yourself up when you don't, meet the level or meet the expectations that maybe you've set up for yourself or adopted because someone else has set it up for you. I think that's easy again for women in business to feel like they do need to have it, to be the expert. But what I've always been amazed about is if you accept yourself and where you are, there's always people that are farther ahead than you, but there's always people that are looking up to you. So you don't need to attain any level of perfection or a level of expertise to be a role model to other women, right? And it's so important at this age, past 45, because often we're trying to recreate our identity, and it's based on what we know in the past, and so we think, well, that's all we can be an expert at. But we need to give ourselves permission to explore, to get into messy things, to not be perfect at something, and that helps us grow as a person.
Very well expressed, Cherry. Exactly. Exactly that, yes. So true.
And that brings us
Really,
to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, that's really, we have to learn, as you said, not to beat ourselves up and condemn ourselves if we make a few mistakes. And not, we're not perfect, so life goes on. Exactly.
And then the last part is creative. Once you give yourself permission to get messy, I guess you can get creative.
And, we're very good at that, actually. We're born with this extraordinary survival instinct, we women. We are so resilient. There's that joke about having the phone in your hand and the computer in your right hand and the baby on the left and this going on and that going on. We're so capable. We can make soup out of one vegetable, this kind of thing. We can be very creative. And the problem is that we've not been credited for it. It's always that we're underpaid, it's not recognized, it's the low-paid jobs, they're not considered important. Teaching nursery is not considered an important job, so it's badly paid, and it's predominantly women.
That is true.
The most important years of our life, of our childhood, where we can actually learn life skills, where we can learn to accept that, yes, we have physical differences, some of us, but we all need food, we all need love, we all need shelter, we all have the same needs and wants. So why do we only have female teachers at that young age? Because it's a low-paid job and women are willing to accept it. No, this has to change. Why don't we have more male midwives?
Good question.
Things like that. So when we start to juggle this up a bit, question it, talk about it.
It's so important. Now you're quite a creative person, and I understand you started writing actually later in life too.
Well, I was doing the playwriting when I was quite young, so I think I've always had a pencil in my hand, yeah. But more recently, then I stopped for a while and then went back to it. Yeah, so definitely, I mean, these books came late in life. Absolutely, yeah.
And tell us about the books.
Well, these last two ones, the purple one and the red one, they're like the sister books, and they are about questioning rules that do not serve you and benefit you. The red book is called The Rule Breaker's Guide to Step Up and Stand Out, because very often we women will have to break a few rules in order to step up and stand out and be more confident and be more courageous, because confidence sometimes means, breaking a few rules. It's not about anarchy. You come into my house, there's rules. And so that book is, The Rule Breaker's Guide, is very much about the what is going on in our world, the injustices. There's a lot of research there about, for example, the lack of equal pay, the pay gender gap, as it's called, and how that is just a global horror nightmare, that women's jobs are not considered worth paying, and yet we're often doing the most important work, as we just discussed earlier about health workers. Doctors, a gynecologist is paid way, way more than a midwife. Why? Why is a man a gynecologist in the first place? So, and then the second book, The Rule It, How to Step Up on Stand Out on Video Stage and Page, is more about the nitty-gritties of how you can overcome these obstacles that you have and step up and stand out, so that you can be confident on video stage and on page. Because, as I said earlier, we have these two very powerful tools. All of us have this, our voice and our pen. And for us to write our story, our experience, our opinion, and boy, do we need to have more of women's experiences told out there, written out there, more books on that opinion and advice and guidance, that common sense stuff that we women are so good at. We need to be able to step up and stand out on these platforms. And, video is just like the in thing now. It's like à la mode, you know, it's what we're all doing now. And so how can you put across your ideas, your passions, your business, your thoughts? Video. How are you going to do that? You're just going to step up and stand and go for it. So that book tells you very much about how to do it. And two little books work very well together, and they stand out on their own too, you know, depending what is it that you want from yourself. The purple book, the roulette book, is very much like a little pocket book. It's a smaller size. And so it's something you can dip in and out of. Because you know, you can't expect to be confident every day and courageous every day. And what are we, robots? No. We have our days when we're feeling like, oh my God, I've got to go for an interview. I don't look good and I don't feel right and I've got wind in my stomach. How am I going to do it? You know, we're human. You know, so you might pick up that book and think, what did she say about confidence? Oh yeah, that makes sense. Great. I feel better now. And those are the little tips and tricks that we women we give each other every day. We've got each other's back when we overcome that competitiveness. You know,
absolutely.
we help each other. We brainstorm with each other. We support each other. We give each other the encouragement. Encouragement. It's so important, and women are so good at doing that. You know, that you're looking great today, girl. You can do it.
And it only takes one thing too it only takes one little thing to make a person feel better when you're interacting with them.
So true. Yeah.
So is there one nugget you can share with us from the roulette book?
Well, it goes through both books really. It's just every time you give the best of yourself, you're always performing authentically. Every time you give the best of yourself, you perform authentically.
That is powerful, very powerful, and so true. You know, lots of if you're worried about something and you give that up to be the real you, it's so powerful.
Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to agree with you. And as we said, you know, there's plenty of people in this world. You know, not all of them have to like you.
Well, and that's a really important point. You know, the fact that when we're trying to be strong, when we're stepping out, when we're breaking, you know, barriers and thinking outside of the box, it's a given that we're going to step on some toes and make some people unhappy. But who cares? I mean, we have to be powerful.
I tell you something. Many years ago, I put on a play, and there were so many problems, so many difficulties. And on the first night, this woman came up to me after the show. I was really exhausted. I was like, ugh. I played so many parts, you know. She came up to me, a woman came up to me afterwards, and she said to me, how could you put on such under-rehearsed, boring, awful, I can't even remember, but it was negative, all the way through. And I just looked at her, and all I could say to her, and it was the best thing ever, I don't know where it came from. I said to her, thank you so much for your opinion. I'm really glad you came tonight. And I walked away. That's what you do. You say, thank you, that's your opinion, now leave me alone. It's not easy. I don't know where that came from, but we need to do that a little bit more. I accept you, thank you very much. You're obviously not my kind of people.
Oh, isn't that true? Like surrounding yourselves with your kind of people. It's very important. Well, you have given us a lot of food for thought. Thank you so much. There's a number of women online, and I'd like to give them a chance to chat. If you would like to unmute yourself, we'd like to know where you are in the world, how COVID, what's happening during COVID in your area, and any questions that you might have for Georgia. You can go ahead and, Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, Jane.
Hello. Hello, Sherry and Georgia. That's been phenomenal. Feels like a master class. Thanks for having me on. And I'm in New Jersey, North Jersey, and I feel like COVID, I'm always working home on my home babes business, so I feel like not as much has changed, but I feel internally I need to reinvent myself. This is a good opportunity, and to be as conscious as possible and mindful, because I'm outside of New York, and it's an epic center, but I am safe and all. So I just think this interview has been fabulous. I'm a fan of Georgia. I have her book, and yeah, and I think I just honor you both, because you're both the words of wisdom, and I love at 45, and I think this is a place where I get to mingle with fabulous women, and you know what you've created is great. So I'm just going to ask you a question, Georgia, and I think everything in here was like a master class, so I think it's going to be fabulous. But in the book, and I look forward to getting the handbook, but in the book you talk about the rules from school, and how the rules are in school, and they're so maybe irrelevant. And I have felt that too as a creative person. Like your creativity gets frowned upon, and you talked about that in the book, and the rules just don't make sense as a creative person. So I get you know, disenchanted with it. So it's like creating new rules. But I love how you bring in the history of we have to learn about Henry VIII and all his misogyny, and then you talk about the misogyny behavior of British education, which I didn't really know about, and how Henry VIII treated his wives. So we have to learn these things in school. How just so misogynist we have to internalize this. And Charles Dickens, like it goes on and on. It's in a chapter here when you get the book. But what I really liked was to unfill our minds from all this nonsense and create our new rules, and secretly seeking the fabulous sisters that can take us and, you know, take us. So I'm always seeking fabulous sisters. And I think that quest is, you know, why are we learning all these things, and how can we learn more about the rebels? And maybe learning about the rebels and the women, like you said, would help us be more confident. So my question is, should we have more rebel and, like, you know, role models in our mind, so that would be more exciting? And also one last thing is, I branded myself as the Dazzle Rebel, and I couldn't anchor onto it for a bit because I was a little frightened I was going to actually be confident in her, the Dazzle Rebel, and I brought it back. So I feel sometimes these things take time, but now I'm really ready to shine. So thank you for both of you, and that's my question. How do you bring in the rebels, so the role models for us?
It's the rebel, yes, it's the rebel, because, you know, a rebellious woman is a dangerous woman. You know, so it's a dangerous role for us to play. And sometimes, you know, we consider a 14, 15-year-old girl who puts a tattoo or a piercing somewhere, she's a rebel, or she wears her skirt a certain way, it's a rebel. But she'll grow out of it, just wait and see. When she gets married and have babies, and very often that's the case. So being a rebel is a challenge for a woman, for a young woman. It is, it's hard to be a rebel. We don't want to be, because a rebellious woman is an outsider. She's dangerous. And we have to overcome that labeling, that oppressive labeling. You know, Joan of Arc was a rebel. What happened to her? She got burned at the stake. Think about all the rebellious women, the famous ones, they're all dead. And they died horrible, and they died young. So, you know, be careful. It's a challenge for us as women to be rebellious, to stand out, to say, to break the rules, to question. I think that's the first step. Question the rules that do not serve you. Question them. And the other side of it really is, now there's so much information on Mr. and Mrs. and Mr. Google. There's so much information up there, you know. If you look up who invented computers, it was a woman. Right? She was the first person And I'm just trying to, it was Charles Babbage who got the credit for it. If you look at the number of women who did not get the credit for the inventions that they created.
That is so
Behind
true.
every man is a woman who created something.
And I think because we lack role models, it's even more important that we as women gird ourselves with power, our own power, to be role models, because we can be role models for other women our age, but we can also be role models for the younger women.
Very true, Sherry. That's very true. And, you know, we have to break that generation nonsense. You know, certain age groups don't mix with this age group. I've seen that a lot in Britain, you know, where the generations don't mix. Here in Spain, where I live, the generations mix very nicely and often.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it's like in your North American countries, but
not so much either. But my husband is Greek, and of course, Greece, those countries seem to have a stronger family centered living style than North America, for sure.
I think that's very important, you know, and I was saying earlier about a lot of Spanish people going to their grandmother for advice. And, you know, okay, you take this with a pinch of salt, but, you know, generally the grandmother has a lot of knowledge about life, a lot of practical common sense. And the thing about common sense knowledge, it's often very simple, but for many modern day people, it's like, it's too simple, it can't work. Why? I want it complicated. I want it complicated. You know, if you think of all these fancy words now they have for the new mental illnesses, when, you know, it's just a lot of common sense stuff.
Absolutely. So we have another caller, Mira. I'm just going to unmute you and go ahead. Hi.
Good evening, ladies. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy and grateful that I am participant of this beautiful call. Hello to Georgia. I had enormous pleasure to meet her during one of the networking events in London. So hello, Georgia, and thank you for inviting me. So I was listening to what you were talking, ladies, especially with regards to us women being confident, creative, and courageous. I think I have improved 3 of them. However, recently I was creative, and this only happened because I am off sick from work. I am a nurse myself, but I would say writer by my heart. I love writing so much. So I had this unexpected time off due to my nasty symptoms, you know, coughing, all of this that is going around.
Oh, Mira.
sorry if I cough. But this time gave me a chance to look deeply in my soul and spend more time on prayers, on meditation, and calling and asking for what my purpose is. And something beautiful happened. I started writing, and recently I wrote 4 poems. One of them is really it's really nice. Sorry for coughing, that's why I wanted to stay low profile, invisible, but I so deeply wanted to say hello to you. So thank you for being inspiration. Thank you, ladies.
I remember you now, Mira. I remember you. I'm so honored that you came on tonight. Thank you so much, my darling. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. You are a fantastic speaker. You are a beautiful writer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
You know that now that you've started writing, explore it. Don't stop. Let those words come. Don't judge it. Don't decide what to do with it. Just let it come. As you said, you're beginning to feel your purpose. You're understanding your purpose. And that's one of the key things to stepping up and standing out. When you feel your purpose, and just express it anyway, in every way, let it flow.
Yeah, yes. Thank you so much for beautiful advice. And I just made reflection just tonight when you were talking about us ladies being cleaners, being carers, being cooks, you know, like I am a nurse. So I was just thinking, oh my God, this resonates with me because actually I'm spending so much time caring and cooking and serving and delivering to others, to others. But this doesn't make me a greater person because I deliver to others, because I don't deliver to myself. That's why I said I am not meeting this calling beautiful words, courageous, creative, and confident, because I am lacking time for my own need as a woman.
Bravo.
And I am 50-something chick. So when is this going to happen?
It has to start now, Mira. Mira, I wanted to say thank you so much because you said you were, you know, a nurse, and just on behalf of everyone, we so appreciate all the people on the front line. I'm so sorry that you're sick. I hope that you improve and are able to get healthy.
It was very, very bad. Thank you. I am getting better. I even couldn't speak. So, you know, but I am eager to connect and I am eager to be with other women. That's why I decided to show up, doesn't matter what.
Well, we're glad you did. And if you have poetry that you'd like to share in our magazine, we'd be love to have you share some of it as an article.
Okay, fantastic. Yes, yeah, I would love to connect with you, ladies. I shared my beautiful, I'm calling it beautiful because it feels beautiful to my heart, my beautiful poem on my Facebook wall. This is about the current situation that we have in the world. So I'm happy if someone wants to grab it and read it, I would be grateful.
Yes, well, we would be grateful that you share it with us. Where are you in the world, Mira? Where do you live?
Sorry, I live in London.
In London.
I have been living in London 14 years with my family. So I arrived to London almost naked, just a bag of simple belongings. No man, no money, no house, no nothing. just single mom on a mission of making a new start into a better life.
Wow.
Bravo.
Congratulations, you've come a long way.
So I've been blessed with meeting wonderful people, and I've been blessed with meeting women who were encouraging me, who were helping me, who were supporting me, who were giving me, you know, the next step to go up. So I'm really grateful for that. And for me, the word encouragement has got a great meaning. Whenever I can in my life, I try to do it the same for others. You know, whenever I can help with my resources, I just try to do it, just as I feel that I have to pay it back.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. That was great.
Thank you so much, Mira, and we wish you lots of healing hugs and love.
Absolutely. Is there anyone else on the call that would like to share? You can unmute yourself by just moving your cursor down to the bottom. But Georgia, I'm wondering, can you share how women can find you and find your books?
Oh, thank you. Yes, well, I have a website, which are the 3 W's and my name, Georgia Varjas, which is beautifully written by Sherry. And on it you will see my blogs and my all the videos from my speeches, and you will also have access to any of the writing workshops that I do and speaking workshops that I I'm now offering. And on Amazon, I just had a report actually from Amazon that they're not renewing books at the moment.
Right.
So when the stock goes because of this pandemic. But there are still books in stock, and you can find them on Amazon under my name, indeed. Thank you, Sherry.
So that's Georgia Varjas, VARJAS.com.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. It was an absolute pleasure to share with you and to share with the others who called in. And we look forward to being able to connect again, Georgia.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thanks to all the ladies that came on tonight. Have a beautiful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in this amazing world. And thank you so much for being with us and joining in with the conversation.
Absolutely. And this will be on our YouTube channel at 45 Women Disrupting Influences. And you can also subscribe to the magazine at 45.com, as well as join our Facebook group, Fab 45 Women's Revolution. So thank you again to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.